Hello everybody, this is Doug coming to you from New York City, actually on the rooftop of where I live here in Manhattan. Obviously not in Saudi Arabia, so this video is a little bit different than the ones that you've seen from me so far. Unfortunately, haven't been able to travel a lot just because of the COVID pandemic that obviously everyone across the world is going through. So haven't been able to travel, but I hopefully am going to be soon. So I wanted to make a video that's a little bit different from what I've done in the past. And this is basically a follow-up to the videos I made in Saudi Arabia. And gotten a lot of questions from Westerners and Saudis alike on a lot of the behind the scenes that went into deciding to go to Saudi Arabia, why I decided to go there, how I did it, was it difficult to get the visa, what was needed, tips, advice, things that surprised me, things that I was expecting. So I wanted to put together a little video to talk about those kind of things and hopefully answer some of those questions. So first thing that a lot of people ask me is, why did you even want to go to Saudi Arabia? You know, it's obviously not a classic or traditional tourist destination. What made you want to go there, and why did you choose Saudi over any other place in the world? So I had always been interested in Saudi, and I thought it was a really unique place, obviously, and that no one was allowed to go there. They had no tourism, and really just not many outsiders were let in, you know, in the past until recently. So when I started seeing the news that they were going to create this tourist visa and be opening up to the world for the first time, I basically put it at the top of my list and said, I gotta go there when it becomes an option. So last September 2019, I'd been following the news for a while, and I finally saw, boom, the tourist visa is available. And basically as soon as I saw that, I got to work planning out the trip, deciding where I wanted to go, how long I could stay for, and how to go about getting the visa. And I also knew that I wanted to start this YouTube channel, but had no idea really what it was going to be or how it was going to develop. But I figured that Saudi Arabia would be a great place to start it off because not too many people have seen Saudi, at least from kind of a tourist perspective or an American's perspective. So that was my plan, and that's how I decided to go to Saudi Arabia. So then came the process of getting the tourist visa, and I didn't know if this was going to be a difficult process or a simple one, but it turned out it was actually really simple. You just go to visitsaudi.com, and from there you can read about the tourism in the kingdom, and you can also follow a link to sign up for a visa. And the visa process is super simple. You just input all your information, your passport number, your name, etc., and you pay the visa processing fee, which I believe at the time was about $120 US. And literally I clicked submit on that website, and within 5 minutes I had an email confirming that my tourist visa to Saudi Arabia was approved. So I was good to go. I want to say that was October of 2019, and 2 months later I was off on the trip. All right, so once I had the visa, I was good to go. From a logistical standpoint, all I had to do was book my flights and show up, basically. But one of the things I quickly realized from scanning TripAdvisor and some of the resources I would normally use when traveling to a new place is that there isn't yet a whole lot of tourist infrastructure in Saudi. So obviously tourism is so new to that country. There aren't a ton of tour companies. I mean, there are a few that you can check out, but I didn't really want to book like an all-inclusive package where I was going to just be with the tour guide the whole time. I wanted it to be a little more independent, but I also didn't want to be alone the whole time. I ended up going, traveling solo, as most of you probably know, but I really wanted to make sure I could meet local people and just have as authentic an experience as possible. One of the ways that I did that, I'd say probably the most important way, was actually visiting a website called Couchsurfing.com. And before you guys comment, I'm not being paid by Couchsurfing at all. This is just my true story of how I did this, and I found it to be extremely helpful. So I'll put the link below, and I'll also put the link for the visa website and all of that down below in the description, so you guys can check that out if you're interested. But anyway, Couchsurfing. This website is normally for finding accommodation for free when you're traveling. So you can put in your details, say, I'm going to Saudi Arabia, looking for a place to stay, and then it's basically a community of travelers that will agree to host you. And yeah, that's that. That's kind of the purpose of the website. However, I was going to be staying in hotels. I knew that. I booked a couple hotels, but I really wanted to use that site to see if I could meet some local Saudis to meet up with when I was there, grab a coffee, go for a tour, whatever. And so I put out just a little message on that site saying, hey, I'm going to be in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh and Jeddah on these dates. And if you're around, I don't need a place to stay, but if you're around, I'd love to meet up, just walk around and explore these two cities. So I posted that to the website, and really overnight, I got so many messages from so many friendly folks from Saudi Arabia offering to host me, even though I didn't even need it, which I thought was so nice, offering to host me at their homes, meet their families, and then a whole bunch of people offering to meet up and show me around. And that was actually how I met my good friend Moat from my Jeddah vlogs through Couchsurfing. So I met him on there. He messaged me and he said, dude, I'll put together an awesome itinerary for you. I'll handle everything. I'll pick you up at the airport, which, you know, was so generous and so nice. I'd never even met him before. And obviously that went extremely well, as you can see from the Jeddah vlogs. Had an amazing time. Yeah, that was all thanks to Moat, and because I had posted on this website, Couchsurfing. Again, not being paid for this, but I would highly recommend you check out Couchsurfing if you're going to a place like Saudi Arabia that maybe doesn't have as much tourism infrastructure in place. So now I want to talk a little bit about some of my expectations and the things I've been told by people or led to believe by things I'd seen on the internet about Saudi Arabia, and then how things were different once I got there. So kind of my expectations versus the reality once I was on the ground. Now, I'd say the biggest thing that surprised me in general was just how open the Saudi people are and the culture. One of the biggest things that I think we in the West tend to think about Saudi Arabia is that it's very conservative. It's very closed off, and you know, for a while that was true in the sense that tourists weren't allowed there, but just in general, it's very a conservative, modest society, and just very different from the West. So I didn't know what to expect going into Saudi Arabia, but the biggest surprise for me was just how open everyone was. So first of all, I'm, you know, this random American walking around, clearly sticking out, no other tourists around any of the places I went really. And I didn't know what that was gonna be like, or if I was gonna have a hard time finding out things to do or where to eat or anything like that. But I quickly realized that the Saudi culture is extremely welcoming and not closed off like we tend to think in America and in the West. So one of the greatest examples of this is after I'd met Sultan, or Mera'i, and I met him in that market, then I went with him and he said, okay, I'm gonna stop off at a mosque to pray real quick. I said, okay, cool. So we stopped, and I kind of just hesitated as he walked into the mosque and said, oh, I'll wait out here, like, that's fine. And just my thinking was that non-Muslims or, you know, Westerners would not be allowed in the mosque. I didn't have a problem with that. That was just what I assumed to be the case. But he was like, come on in. And I said, oh no, it's okay. I'll wait outside. I don't want to offend anyone, or, you know, I just thought that was against the rules, that no non-Muslims would go into a mosque. But he reassured me and was like, no, come in. It's totally fine. And so I went with him, and I was a little nervous that I didn't want to make anyone upset, that I would be in there just, you know, not participating, but sitting back and observing. And that was a huge surprise for me. So I ended up going in, and it's in the videos, the past ones that I've made, but I ended up sitting in the back of the mosque, and beautiful mosque, and Sultan went up and prayed, and I got to listen to the prayer and watch the prayer happening. And it was just an amazing experience. And afterwards, as the people in the mosque were leaving after praying, they walked by me, and I was still a little nervous that people would maybe be upset that I was just sitting there, some random white dude, some American sitting in there. And the only kind of looks I got were looks of curiosity and friendliness. So people would look at me for sure, but they would be kind of look at me and smile and wave, and that was it. So there was never any hostility, never any inkling that I should not be there at all. And that was even a surprise for me, you know, going in with an open mind, which I definitely was, but I just thought that kind of thing would never happen. Americans and Westerners tend to believe that there's not as much fun and music and things like that, but that is already changing a lot in Saudi Arabia, as you've seen if you've seen my videos. I went to a couple movies when I was in Saudi, and movie theaters are fairly new in Saudi Arabia, and I also went to a Zed concert, which was something I certainly never expected. And thanks to my friends Moat and Ahmed number 2 for bringing me to that. But things like that, they're changing. And you realize when you go to things like that and you're with other young people like yourself, and even people of all ages, that we really are more alike than we're different. And you know, there's people everywhere that want the same things: to have fun, to be with their friends, to be with their families, to eat good food, to meet new people from all over the world. So that was really eye-opening for me. All right, and the last topic I want to cover in this quick video is tourism infrastructure and what is it really like to be a tourist in Saudi Arabia. So as I mentioned earlier, when I was planning it, there wasn't a whole lot of information on the internet, at least in the way of TripAdvisor and things that you would normally use to plan a trip to a new place. So as I said, being open to new experiences with people you've just met was something that was really important and useful to me, and something that I think really made my experience so great in Saudi. I just wanted to go with the flow and experience the culture and the country and meet the people, and whatever happened, happened. I knew I had a couple places I wanted to see, such as the edge of the world in Riyadh and Al Balad, the old city in Jeddah. But besides that, I really had kind of an open itinerary, and as soon as I met some locals like Merei, I basically decided to go with the flow and see what happened. And that's something I think is really useful in Saudi. So you're not going to necessarily be on a big tour package where you're going from here to here to here with a private driver, and you've got tourist sites with English translations on everything. It's not like going to, Italy. So if you are going at it alone like I did, solo travel to Saudi Arabia, I would say you should be ready to take taxis. You can take Ubers in Saudi Arabia, and you can also download an app called Careem, which is similar to Uber, and it's popular in the Middle East. I used both of them while I was there, and it's super easy, and it's the best way to get around Saudi because they really don't have much of a street walking culture like we do here in New York City. It can get really hot there, and so people travel by cars mainly. So taxis are very important to use, so either get an international plan on your cell phone, or you can buy a SIM card when you get there. And the other thing that was really useful to me in planning my trip was thinking outside the box in terms of where I was getting my ideas. So like I said, less on TripAdvisor and more looking at YouTube videos, reading blogs of people who had been there even before I had gone. And that was really helpful for me, understanding what are the tourist sites, how do I get to them, getting restaurant recommendations and things like that. So really think outside the box when you're going to Saudi Arabia. Be open to new experiences, be open to meeting locals, and be open to going with the flow. Don't overplan. Understand that you're going to need to take taxis to get around unless you meet local friends who are nice enough to drive you around. And think outside the box in terms of research. Just learn as much as you can and be ready to tackle a lot of it with an open mind. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. Just wanted to make a quick one talking about my impressions of Saudi, things that surprised me, and how you can visit Saudi too if you're thinking about it. Highly recommend it, obviously. I had an amazing time, and I think it can be a real eye-opening experience for any traveler. If you have more questions, definitely drop them in the comments below and I will be happy to answer them. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm working real hard to bring more videos to you very soon. And you can also follow along on Instagram and Snapchat. I'll put those links down below in the description. So thank you guys so much for your support again. It really means a lot to me. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.